What is going on, everybody? This is another episode of Coordinated Chaos. In this week's episode, we will be going over what happened in NFL Week 5, as well as I will go over my one singular this week favorite matchup against the spread, because honestly, the lines this week are kind of ridiculous. I don't want to have to get into it, but it's going to be hard to pick at the end of the week what I actually want to bet on. But let's hop right into a recap of some of the bigger games of the weekend. First, we're starting off on Thursday Night Football, Buccaneers versus the Falcons, an absolute barn burner of a game, one of the better Thursday Night Football games we've had in a long time. Really exciting one to watch. I will say I bet on the over, which I was happy about. Also bet on the Buccaneers to get the job done and just win money line. And they had it in control pretty much all game long until the very end when Kirk Cousins had his little 2-minute drill that he loved to do, where he killed my Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football at the end, and he did the same thing to the Buccaneers in this one. But Kirk Cousins in clutch time has been good. In prime time, where he hasn't been good as of late, and he's kind of turning around the whole narrative there.
Yeah, the whole thing was, Kirk in prime time, he's just going to stink. And the two times they've put him in it, he's led a drive to lead to a win. So it's kind of fun to watch him because obviously he's a little older. His prime is probably a little bit past him, but he can still get it done. With the Falcons, I was surprised, and this isn't just fantasy, but they scored so many points, and Bijan did not do too much. London and whoever else.
Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, he played really well. Pitts, played
pretty well.
Yeah, and so they were really able to aerate it, which I guess the Buccaneers defense gets away because their front 8 is pretty good, but their secondary isn't the most solid, and they kind of got exposed. But that's a good win for the Falcons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they needed it. I think this is a good sign for them going forward. It builds a little bit of momentum for them going forward as well. And honestly, Darnell Mooney has been a revelation for that offense right now. I mean, Drake London was the guy there, and then you had Kyle Pitts, Bijan. Obviously, everybody knows about those guys. But right now, Darnell Mooney coming over from where he was at in Chicago, where he couldn't really get the ball because Justin Fields just isn't that great of a quarterback. I think he's going to open up that offense a little bit more for him. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. 509 yards for Kirk Cousins is crazy. Fantasy-wise, it was insane. He had 50 pass attempts, 50-plus pass attempts. But that was just kind of how the game went. But, yeah, that was a huge win for them. Like you said, the Buccaneers' secondary has been a little bit disappointing thus far in the season, but they are a little bit banged up. They'll get Antoine Winfield Jr. back soon, and he's kind of a big part of that secondary. So hopefully they can kind of turn things around. But, yeah, big win for the Falcons and their positioning in the NFC South. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. This was the first London game of the year. This was the Jets versus the Vikings. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers did not have a great game here. The defense kind of did their job against Sam Darnold in the offense. Aaron Jones leaves this game with hip pointer kind of injury thing going on there. And Sam Darnold did not play super well in this game, but it was encouraging for them, the Vikings in general, to go to 5-0 here, considering they didn't play well on offense. The defense was still able to keep them in the game. They were still able to pull out a game in this fashion in kind of a weird environment that's overseas. You got the rest kind of disadvantage, even though both teams are having to do it. But, yeah, it was a big win for the Vikings to go to 5-0. Jets struggling. Aaron Rodgers, 3 interceptions. Not a great day for him.
Yeah, Rodgers has not really impressed. The Jets' defense deserves so much credit because they're the reason in the games they lose they're not getting smoked. Yep. But the Vikings 5-0 is impressive because you have to beat 5 different teams. Doesn't matter who, where. Yep. But I saw a stat, and the last team that went 5-0 that missed the playoffs was the Vikings in 2016.
Correct.
So hopefully history doesn't repeat itself because I'm rooting for Sam Darnold. It's kind of funny. It's kind of a Cinderella story. But they also – I don't think they're in the same position as the Chiefs where they can just be all high-headed and we're the best because they have not exactly – looked the best. They've won, but it hasn't been the prettiest.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had the track record of sustained success that the Chiefs have, so they can't really hang their hat on anything. No. They got to stay hungry and keep coming to each game with the same mentality of us against the world kind of thing because nobody really still believes in them going forward just because of the fact that Sam Darnold's their quarterback. But yeah, that 2016 when they did go 5-0, that was actually funny because that was the year that the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz, had Sam Bradford on the team, and that's when Teddy Bridgewater tore his knee up. They traded Sam Bradford for a first-round draft pick to Minnesota. They started out really hot, 5-0. Had to play the Eagles in Week 6 and lost that game. And then from then on, they just kind of went on a losing streak. It was a really, really weird season for the Vikings in that one. But, yeah, Vikings get a huge win. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers not playing great. 3 interceptions in this game. Finally got Garrett Wilson going a little bit. But once again, it took a lot of pass attempts for that to kind of happen. He got more people involved in this one, other than really Breece Hall. Breece Hall has been very uninvolved in the offense, has not been very efficient on the ground either. A lot of fantasy managers are a little bit upset about that whole thing, which I understand. You drafted him with your first or second pick in a lot of drafts, depending on who you liked. It's just unfortunate for him right now because I don't know where this offense goes forward, considering it sounds like – so today, obviously, the news dropped that Robert Saleh got fired. There was like a article or just like a blurb that came out that Saleh was going to go and essentially fire Nathaniel Hackett, who is the offensive coordinator, who is like Rodgers' guy. And then not too long after, Saleh gets canned, and it's like, was there something there? Was it like kind of the doing of Aaron Rodgers? He didn't want his guy to go, or did Woody Allen already have this whole thing planned, or Woody Johnson, already have this whole thing just put together, and he was already going to do this to Robert Saleh. So there's a lot of questions up in there about that. But yeah, Robert Saleh out as the head coach in the New York Jets.
Yeah, I read that he, after he heard he was fired, he tried to go in and like talk to the team just to like tell him about it, and they wouldn't even let him in.
They said security escorted him out.
They took him out and were like, "You have to go somewhere else."
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, really weird situation in New York there. We'll see how it pans out. We'll see if it like
next.
Yeah, as the head coach. Yeah. So interim head coach will be Jeff Ulbrich, who's the defensive coordinator. But down the road,
find somebody.
I don't know. And that's the thing is apparently the feeling inside of the locker room is like, how does this fix the offense?
Yeah,
because he's the defensive mind of the place basically. And so I don't even know if you know how normally when a head coach gets fired in the middle of the season, there's that interim head coach bump where everybody's like, okay, we're going to band together and fight for this guy. The other guy wasn't really doing his job, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know if they get that right now because I feel like a lot of people feel like he probably didn't deserve to get fired.
No, that situation stinks, but it's so hard as a head coach on a team that's just not good because you have Dan Campbell, I don't want to say got lucky, but the Lions were fairly patient and gave him a season or two to kind of figure it out. But teams like the Panthers, they just roll through coaches, and you get 5-6 games before you're out. Versus Andy Reid ain't going anywhere. Jim Harbaugh not going anywhere.
Yeah.
There are some guys that know their job is so secure.
Yeah, they can get away with certain things. But that's. Weird situation. Yeah, for sure. We'll see how it pans out for them, see who they end up, hiring in the next cycle and whatnot. If they decide to go with the guy that becomes interim, that'll be interesting. I don't think that's going to be the case, but let's go into the next game, Ravens versus Bengals. This was an absolute barn burner as well, second one of the weekend, basically. Back and forth game. Basically, this was a microcosm of how, quickly narratives can shift in the NFL very quickly because not just figuratively, but literally Lamar Jackson at the end of this game actually dropped the ball. And off the snap, he dropped the ball. Bengals get the ball. Bengals go down, and Zach Taylor did get really conservative and essentially play for the 53-yard field goal, which then they muffed the snap, gets right back in the hands of the Ravens, and the Ravens go and win the game essentially. So it's very quick in the NFL that if they just get that kickoff and Evan McPherson nails the kick, everybody's pounding on Lamar Jackson and saying he didn't get the job done. He literally blew the game for him. He dropped the ball for them. But then it just flips itself on the head, and now Joe Burrow and the Bengals are looking at 1-4, and their schedule doesn't get a whole lot easier.
Well, but I like the Bengals. They were staying aggressive, but just an inside slant that Burrow threw that got picked off was just such a bad decision.
Yeah.
Even if you get sacked, oh well.
Yeah.
You go down, you lose some yards, you can run it out, but it's 1-4 is really bad.
Yeah.
They really needed that one, and they did such a good job with Derrick Henry till the last play before the field goal. It was they had him all game, and then he rips off like 40-some yards.
Yeah, that's the thing about Derrick Henry is, like, as the game goes on, he's going to wear on you, and by the fourth quarter, you are just tired.
And then you let one
is.
go, and then that's game over.
Yeah. And really, the Bengals are, like, pretty good on offense right now. Joe Burrow is doing a really good job.
He had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns. Really got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins really involved in this game. The defense has just been letting them down.
The defense is not performing.
They're banged up. They don't have the personnel right now to really get it done, and Lou Anarumo is just pressing every button that he knows to press to try to get something going, and it's just not really working out for him.
No, I hope – I like the Bengals. Like, I like the team they have, and I hope they can figure it out, but they have to start fairly soon because, they've played 5 games. They have 12 left.
Yeah.
Like, they would have to go, like, 10, like 10 and 2 maybe.
Yeah, they'd have to basically run the table in
Yeah,
order
like,
to get
they will
a
have
nice
to,
record.
Yeah, turn it on.
Yeah.
And they can do it, but they're going to have to if they want to make the playoffs.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next one, Bills versus Texans. This was another pretty good game. Texans jump out to a big lead. They were at 20-3 at one point. Bills come back. Josh Allen kind of brings them back in the game, basically kicking and screaming. He did not have a great statistical game here. He was like 9 for 31, which is a terrible percentage. But he was trying to do everything he could in his power in order to get the game won for them. At the end there was a very controversial time management type of decision-making situational football situation where essentially they were backed up on their 3-yard line, the Bills, I should say. Probably shouldn't have passed it 3 times in a row. Probably should have ran it 3 times because you would have taken all their timeouts away from them and then made them throw some passes to the outside in order to preserve the clock, obviously, at that point. They did not do that. They threw it 3 times to Josh Allen, who just previously got concussed on the ground, and I don't even know how he got back in the game, really. That was a weird situation. I don't know how he got cleared because he looked like he was completely out on the ground. But then the Texans get the ball back. They punt it, which they couldn't get a good punt off because of the fact that they were so backed up. So Robert Woods grabs the ball. Nice, decent little return. Then they do one drop-off pass in the middle of the field, which they have all their timeouts. Be able to kick a 59-yarder with the time expiring. Texans win the football game.
Yeah, the Texans, I hope Collins isn't out for too long because he's so dynamic. He's fun to watch. But C.J. Stroud has started to figure out he has some real weapons on his offense. Like Diggs and Dell are both really good 2s and 3s.
Yep.
And, yeah, Josh Allen, I kind of almost felt bad for him because it was like he just takes a beating. He
got killed in this game.
He tries so hard, and he does so well to bring his team back, but they never. I don't know. It's like something with the coaching, with the scheme, just never seems to work out for them in the end game.
Yeah, this is the time where you can kind of tell that the Bills don't have the requisite weapons to get the job done in this type of ball game where he's trying to come back.
Yeah.
Khalil Shakir was out of this game. Yeah. He's one of their bigger weapons. He's kind of a security blanket for Josh Allen thus far in the season.
Yeah.
He's that kind of guy that he knows where he's going to be in the middle of the field. But otherwise, it's been up and down for all their weapons.
Yeah, that's just where you miss for them, like a Stephon Diggs. Yep. Just someone that can be the number one target that can kind of almost get open every time.
Yeah, just get you out of the jam in general. Yep. So Texans get the big win. They're, I think, 4-1 now in the season. Let's move on to the next one, Cowboys versus Steelers. This was the game that spilled over into Monday morning, essentially, because of the rain delay. They started at 9:45. Not a very pretty game on either side.
Barn burner.
Yeah, the exact opposite of barn burner that we saw a couple titimes in the Sunday slate.
6-3 at halftime.
Yeah, 6-3 at halftime. Disgusting, just kind of display of offense.
Yeah.
Just both defenses were playing pretty good, and the Cowboys defense was without a lot of weapons. I mean, they didn't have DeMarcus Lawrence, they didn't have Micah Parsons, and they still were able to kind of stifle that offense for the Steelers, which we're starting to see a little bit more and more that Justin Fields is not going to be the answer there, and I think they're starting to side-eye Russell Wilson on the sideline. I think you might need to step in at some point here.
Yeah, because the Fields, they started out so hot early because their defense gets them out of so much trouble. T.J. Watt and them are so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Russell Wilson is the answer, but I watched this video of George Pickens running routes when the ball wasn't going to him, and it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
He's just uninspired.
He'll
He's
just like kind of
care.
jog forward, and so he's kind of like a boom or bust. Like if he's on, like you'll get his max effort. But if he's off, he's off. And they couldn't. Sure. Najee Harris didn't really get going either, and so their offense just needs to be better for them to start winning more games.
Yeah, the fact that Najee Harris couldn't really get going in this game is like the telltale sign that like he's clearly not that great of a running back, because everybody has taken advantage of the Cowboys' run defense, and he wasn't really able to do it in this game. And it's like you're the pretty much a lone guy back there. Cordell Patterson's hurt. So is Jaylen Warren. So it's like you were the guy. You have to take over in this type of ball game, and he couldn't get it done. And like I said, Justin Fields was kind of missing some easy throws that I think would have put them up early in this game, then let the defense kind of take over. They couldn't get the job done. Dak Prescott does just enough to win the game. Does throw 2 picks, 2 bad picks in this game. One in each day, which is crazy. He's the first person to throw a pick in 2 different days in the same game, which is a wild stat. But yeah, they got out of the game alive.
Yeah, they won, but him and CeeDee Lamb do not seem like they're really like
they're not really on the same page.
No, and like there's a video of him jawing at him. I don't know what he said, but you're like, that is just not what you want from your 2 highest paid players.
Yeah, for sure.
For them to be going at each other.
Yeah, even though they're winning these ball games right now, it's not pretty, and the vibes are a little bit off. So it's like
vibes
going forward, I don't know what the Cowboys are going to end up doing. Let's move on to Monday Night Football, Chiefs versus Saints. Not really a super pretty game in this one either. Chiefs once again scrapping by, as they pretty much always do. Doesn't matter who's out there on the field for them. All the injuries have piled up, and it doesn't matter.
Smith-Schuster look like a receiver one.
I know, dude. I mean, like the corpse of Juju's out there, just like getting 130 yards. And then Kareem Hunt's out there once you like the corpse of Kareem Hunt's back, and he's just like getting, like over 100 yards of like offense in general, man. And they just get the job done. Saints didn't really have a whole lot for them. Saints looked like they were the smoke and mirrors that I thought they would by now, because now they're 2-3. They start out 2-0, and it looks like Derek Carr's going to be out for a little while as well with oblique injury. So they said multiple weeks on that. So this season is going down the drain for the Saints.
Yeah, Carr getting hurt really sucks. Because playing at the Chiefs, like no one expects you to win that. Like that's just a tough one. But they weren't able to get Kamara going. Like Shaheed caught a long one. I think they targeted Olave like twice.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. He had like one catch.
Yeah, and then the Chiefs, they are getting Kelsey going enough to where like you have to be like, oh crap, he's still on this team. He's still Travis Kelce. Like he'll make some stuff happen. Like he's done. He had like 9 catches for 80 yards, so it's still nothing spectacular. But the Spagnuolo special really worked today.
Oh yeah,
or yesterday, and Mahomes can just get it done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Over and over.
It seems like they make an effort on defense to just take away the number 1 wide receiver, whoever it may be. Chris Olave got pretty much deleted from this game.
Totally.
Like you said, Shaheed made a play, which was like pretty much the biggest play they had of the game.
And there was only one of them.
Yeah, and there was only one. So other than like the Colin Saunders pick in the end zone, the big boy run, that was pretty awesome.
High and tight.
Yeah, dude, he used to be a former running back, and everybody was like, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty impressive play. But yeah, Chiefs just get the job done. They continue to be undefeated, just scrapping along. We'll see if they make some moves at the trade deadline, as we alluded to last week. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Week 5 recap. Let's run right into my favorite matchup against the spread this week, or this upcoming week in Week 6. Texans -7 versus the Pats. Do you have any initial thoughts on this?
I like it. I think the Texans' offense is good enough. I guess the whole dark horse is Drake May. Like, if he comes out and he's just absolutely balling, then it's like, well.
Yeah. That never would have saw that coming, actually.
So. But, like, he's a quarterback behind one of the worst O-line in football. He's a rookie, first game, playing against a pretty solid Texans team. Yeah. So, I like the Texans here.
Yeah, the Texans defense gave Caleb Williams all he wanted and more in Week 2, and I just think he's been taking all the snaps in training camp
Yeah.
and then through the season already, and Drake May just has not had that opportunity. So I don't know how well it's going to go for Drake May. I'm kind of rooting for Drake May.
I
Everybody's
think
kind
a
of
lot
down
of
on
people
him.
are.
But like, it's a tough spot
Totally.
to just start your career off against the Texans defense, who D'Amico Ryans throws a whole lot at you, even if you're not a rookie. So
Yeah, the defense. This is what I got from the Chiefs game is Spagnuolo's figured out on third and anything. If you just blitz zero, like just go.
Yeah.
That no one figures out what to do.
yeah, people just freak out.
Yeah, the quarterback
Yeah.
spazzes it out of his
Correct.
hand, and Carr threw a dime, and like you see, it went right.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man.
Yeah, it's tough sledding for anybody that has to face some of these like mad scientist type defensive coordinators,
what they
especially
can
as a young
figure
guy.
out is so impressive
Yep.
to make it hard.
Yep. Well, that pretty much wraps up for this episode of the podcast. A little bit of a shorter one this week, but not
Nothing
as many
crazy in
games.
week 5.
There's a lot of buys happening this week. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Appreciate you coming on once again.
Of course.
And everybody listening out there, I appreciate it. Please follow the Twitter, the TikTok, and follow on YouTube. I'll be putting out the gambling videos later on in the week, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.